shocker. Imagine my surprise. Just imagine my surprise when Uncle Casey found out that the WNBA is struggling to maintain their ratings without Caitlin Clark. To make matters worse, and this is something I have definitely noticed in the last 3 or 4 weeks, especially since the All-Star game,
the WNBA had a severe reality check without Caitlin Clark. Ratings are plummeting like a Stephanie White-coached squad under pressure. A groin injury can render the historical growth narrative ineffective as a marketing tool. Can this league survive without its biggest draw for a month? What's your take? Does anyone watch the other stars when Clark isn't playing?
And that problem is Caitlin Clark not playing in WNBA games. Now, what all does this affect? The ratings are plummeting. Guys, there's ratings for a couple of these games that are eye-poppingly bad. We're talking about down in unrivaled territory.
So, this is the scenario. This year, the league had a successful strategy for achieving high television ratings. Caitlin Clark versus Angel Reese. That is it. This was their cash cow matchup. Chicago Sky versus Indiana Fever. You didn't need marketing experts in a conference room to figure it out. Only 2 well-known names appeared on the same court 5 times in a single season.
Going to maintain interest. Now, in fairness to the dump, the ratings I'm about to share with you guys, they're not bad. Matter of fact, some of them are actually good, at least when compared to what this dump used to draw, which was nothing. But the reason I think the WNBA is in trouble has less to do with these ratings and more to do with what I think is coming.
Protecting your stars is crucial for their longevity. Clark has been out for a month and a day due to groin injury. Soft tissue requires time to heal, rather than a quick fix with tape. Rhea's been out for the past week and a half. On Saturday, neither of the WNBA's golden ticket players appeared on the court. The results are the lowest ratings these two teams have achieved since Caitlin Clark entered the league. Not lower than average, but low. Rock bottom. We can't even match last year's figures. Low. Out of sight and out of memory. Let's start with the numbers, which provide a comprehensive picture. This is our first gathering this year. Huge. ABC averaged 2.7 million viewers, with a peak of 3.1 million. This represents a 115% increase from last year's ABC season average. It was the perfect storm. Clark's foul controversy, her triple-double, the Sky's destruction, and the famed probe. It all stemmed from that game. The second meeting was strong, but a step down. CBS's prime time slot is at 8 p.m. With 1.92 million viewers, this WNBA regular season game remains one of the most watched since 2001. It was the 8th largest in more than 2 decades. Having both stars on the floor can have a significant impact. The third meeting on ABC saw a significant decline in attendance. From 2.7 million to 1.9 million, the number has now dropped to 1.5 million. 1.2 million individuals opted out of round 3, saying, "Nah, I'm good." Remember, I addressed this at the time. The game between Fever and Sky received 1.5 million average viewers, making it the lowest viewership since last year's 1.53 million. Clark is still playing. Let's go ahead to this past Saturday. Despite having the same prime time slot, network, and matchup, CBS, they failed to reach 1.4 million. Out of 1.3 million viewers, almost 500,000 chose not to use Clark's pass. Between May 22nd and August 10th, this premier showdown lost 1.4 million viewers. This is not a small seasonal drop. This is disastrous in TV terms. Networks despised that tendency. Advertisers despised that tendency. Kathy Angel-Burt really dislikes the trend. Without Clark, the Fever loses its national interest. Fans are not tuned in for Kelsey Mitchell's ISO plays. They are not altering their weekend for Lexi Hall. They are not interested in the officiating circus that takes place during each game.
Season. And the craziest thing about this last groin injury with Caitlin Clark is how it's been covered. The day after she had the groin injury, she was listed as day-to-day. And then a couple weeks after that, then she was listed to being out indefinitely. Now, ESPN had August 12th as the circled return date for Caitlin Clark to get back onto the court. And just yesterday, she was listed as a game time decision for today's game against the Dallas Wings. And then after practice yesterday, Coach Stephanie White basically came out and said, like, no, Caitlin Clark hasn't even been practicing. So they changed it from a game time decision to her being out.
So what happens? The WNBA becomes desperate. You start hearing whispers, "Hey, Fever, can you tease a Caitlin Clark return?" Simply dangle it in front of fans. Give us something to boost these figures. This appears to be a desperate PR stunt. Avoid presenting plays to keep the audience engaged.
And I get it to a certain extent. The fans, the media does not need to know every little thing that's going on with Caitlin Clark's injuries, especially a star player like that. We will never know all the information, nor should we know all the information, and that's actually good for Caitlin. It protects her for when she does come back on the court. She can't be targeted. Teams can't use a certain injury or ailment against her if people don't really know what is going on. But the reporting of her timeline in general, there has been no rhyme or reason to what has been shared about it. To put her as a game time decision for today's game, and then Coach Stephanie White basically coming out and saying she has done no practicing with the team, that's crazy. And I brought it up in my video yesterday.
But here's the catch. It's not recommended to rush return from Clark's injury, as it can lead to persistent pain.
Her back in the mix when all of these teams are at peak condition, and we already know what happens when Caitlin Clark gets back out on the court. Teams play defense on her differently. They play extra physical with her. There's all of these different factors that come into play. That's why I'm sort of leaning to the point of maybe Caitlin should be out for the rest of the season. Maybe this season is just done for her. Maybe it doesn't make sense for her to come back into the mix if the Fever aren't contenders. Are the Fever contenders at this point? I'm just not so sure. Do you risk another injury that can again compound and turn into something else down the line?
A league that relies heavily on her for TV relevance should prioritize her safety. Constant targeting, inconsistent whistles, and officiating that treats your star player as if she's a rookie walk-on at an open gym lead to this outcome. If you believe this simply affects Fever games, think again. Let's look at the data for past games without Clark. In comparison to Sunday, there were 180,000 watchers. Dream versus Mercury, $160,000. If the League and Players Association claim enormous increase, NBA TV numbers should be at least 300,000, minimum of $250,000. However, without the Caitlin Clark stimulus package, they are not even at $200K. This is essentially a league-wide stimulus plan. Clark plays, and the numbers rise. Clark sits in a crater. The WNBA relies greatly on her, leaving them vulnerable in her absence. The league had anticipated this outcome. The warning signs were present from day one. Your most valuable athlete in terms of marketability and ratings is taking more hits than most NFL wide receivers while receiving fewer calls than a telemarketer in airplane mode. Landing space breaches are ignored. Arm grabs on drives are ignored. Clear cuts around the rim. Play on. Consider if Clark had the same whistle as Paige Buers. Would she still play today? I would say yes. If the Fever had been a top 3 seed, they would not have had a ratings decline in August. Instead, we are here. The bubble may be bursting. Owners are viewing the charts. The decline is so evident that even non-NBA players can understand it. The NBA has seen a decline in viewership from 3.1 million to 1.3 million, with TV games failing to reach 200K. This is due to the absence of a key player who should be prioritized. Here's the actual kicker. This is not only about the present. During Clark's absence, casual viewers seek alternative entertainment. They discontinue the habit of tuning in. Once a habit is lost, it's difficult to regain. When compared to watching teams with unknown stars, it's important to recognize their first and last names. The league's marketing primarily relies on Clark and others. The second half of the statement isn't engaging viewers. The WNBA faces a potentially perilous situation. TV networks are impatient and will not wait for our celebrity to be healthy. ESPN, CBS, and ABC. They pay for consistent results, not just when our top draw is active. When 1 million-plus viewers leave, when Clark isn't in uniform, they reconsider their commitment to next year's games. As a network executive, you would not invest in a project that fails due to a single player's tardiness. This is not sustainable and does not provide leverage for future TV deals. The owners understand this. The league is aware of the situation. Instead of addressing the core cause and preserving the star, phony game time decision updates are being used to temporarily boost ratings. Let us be honest. We've seen this trick before. In sports, game time decisions typically indicate that the game will not be played. However, some may still purchase a ticket or watch the game anyway. And it works. Once, perhaps twice. Following that, fans catch on. They cease believing you. Fans may perceive you as a con artist, which can significantly lower ratings. If she hasn't had enough practice, she shouldn't be let back in the game. You can imitate game speed as much as you want during practice. You will not be able to. Game speed is just that, game speed. There's also a lot of adrenaline. The Indiana Fever play in front of a sold-out crowd every night. If I'm their coach, she should practice for at least a week. Allow at least a week of practice before reintroducing her to the group. You're bringing her back into the mix when all teams are at their top performance.